Hey friends, what's going on? This is Rick Backus, and I have a rare opportunity. We're in the Barossa Valley right now. We're actually Eden Valley.
Eden Valley.
Sorry, my bad. We're, well, after a day of drinking, we're at a vineyard that is one of the most, maybe one of the most iconic vineyards in the world. This is the Hill of Grace Vineyard with Steve and Prue Henschke. And we're having a look at some of the wines. We're tasting some whites, some reds. And when wine drinkers think about the Hill of Grace, and a lot of the Henschke wines, what makes the wines so special? Because both of you are really good at what you do, and I don't think people really realize that. So Prue, what is it about being stewards of these vines?
Well, they're pretty old, so they're 150 years old, and you can see by the special trunks, they're really contorted, and I guess they deserve some care. So we've got some special soil here that really needs to be looked after. It's kind of a loess. So the sand on top needs permanent sward, and under the vines we use a mulch plus compost, and that really helps the vines develop a bit of resilience and cope with the changes in weather conditions.
Because they're dry farmed, right?
Yes, they are. There's no irrigation here at all.
There's a lot of history around this area, multi-generations of the Henschke family. When you think about picking wine, the selection process, Steve, what does that look like from one vintage to the next?
We actually have a really interesting vineyard, because although it's a single vineyard, the size of a postage stamp, it's actually made up of 6 components of old blocks planted at different times. So we're standing in the oldest block here, the 150-year-old block called the Grandfathers, and that just extends in this little sort of couple of acres of land here. Then across the creek line, and you know, it's called Hill of Grace, but it's actually a valley with this vineyard planted in it. Across the creek line are the post office blocks 1 and 2, and they were planted in 1910 and 1920. And then around us with the church block, the house block and the windmill block that were planted by my uncle back in the 50s. We've got a whole range of different ages on different soil types that have totally different flavours. So in this deepest part of the vineyard, where the Grandfathers and post office block 1 are, we actually get the more exotic, almost 5-spice exotic characters coming out in the Shiraz. Yeah. Then up on the periphery, on the edges, we get more blackberries and black pepper flavours in the fruit. So combining all those together, you get the Hill of Grace. The wine we're looking at now is actually the wine that Prue's, or from the grapes that Prue selected. It's a selection of the best of the old Grandfathers that we planted in the vines. The vines, yeah. That these old girls, really, we call them grandfathers, so it should be really called grandmothers. Yeah. And we've planted post office block 3 up there, which is the selection. That's from 20-year-old vines now, and that's aspiring to be Hill of Grace, and one day it will be, but at the moment they're still babies, and we use the Hill of Roses name, which comes after the Rosenzweig family, the rose twig sort of family that owned the old post office.
Yeah, it's cool. There's
lovely connection.
The old post office here. It's cool to see the history that's still surrounding us. And I mean, we're talking about history, but you guys are in the middle of 2011 harvest and vintage right now.
Correct.
What can people expect from 2011?
And 2011 has been more of a challenging year for us. But in terms of the flavours, the potential that we get in the fruit, it's these lovely, exotic, spicy Shiraz with black pepper, blackberry sort of flavours, and some of this sort of exotic characters coming through. But we're also looking for the tannin, we're looking for the extract, but really what gives a wine the depth and length to it. And the old vines are amazing. You know, we look at this young wine now, and it's got pretty flavours, and it's a lovely young Shiraz. When you taste the Grandfathers, which we'll show you in a minute, you'll just see that extra dimension of structure. And as we're going through and tasting all the different blocks to select and decide when to pick, it's really based on that texture, that mouthfeel, that tannin maturity, because what we see on the vine is what we end up with in the bottle 2 years later, effectively.
Which is lucky for all of us. Yeah. And as the next generation of Henschke family comes up, what are some of the challenges that they're going to face going forward as they take care of and are stewards of this land?
We've just about seen every different season in the last 2 decades that you could ever imagine, and this is just another version in 2011. So it's going to be their challenge, yeah, and to actually do it in an organic way. So we're trying to build up to organic certification, and and we'll see how it goes.
So it's safe to say that the Henschke brand and the land is in good hands going forward. Well, I want to thank you for hosting us, and there's so much to cover here, but I really appreciate you guys having us out and keep making good wine.
Yeah, as the sun sets.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Hill of Grace
Cheers.
at sunset. Cheers.
Can't get